Okay.
So we're trying something new tonight, and apparently we've had some technical difficulties at the beginning, but we're using a new platform as opposed to using Zoom like we normally do. We're using a platform called Crowdcast, and lot of benefits to this, but being our first go with it, we were bound to have some things happen, and we had a lot of awful feedback, but seems like everything's figured out now. So let me introduce. Well, before we introduce, I just have to say hello to our co-host, Mr. Bob Baldessari. Bob, how are you, sir?
I feel like took a brand new set of clubs out, and I had all the best intentions to just, shoot 68, but I needed a few holes to get used to them. But other than that, I'm doing wicked good.
Well, you just showed us the golf.
I did, yeah. I've got some old clubs here we can do show and tell later, but we don't want to delay our wicked special guest this evening.
Bob, why don't you do the honors of introducing James?
Yes, James Hong, the Honger. Met James a few years ago when I did one of my player development workshops up in New York at Knollwood Country Club, and he was sitting over to my left. And I did these workshops across the country, and probably on maybe a few fingers I can remember a few people that really were so engaged and really got it as far as what we talk about in the workshops and how do you build your business. And it's not a program, it's not a cookie cutter. And how do you engage? How do you inspire people? How do you retain people into the game? So I was struck by James and very thoughtful. He's literally is a thought leader in our PGA. So very, very privileged to have him this evening. He gets a lot of calls to do a lot of things, and he's a busy guy, not only with golf, but his extracurricular activities. And we might be able to get a photo of one of those this evening. But Honger, it's great to have you with us.
How's it going, guys? Thank you for having me here.
We're excited, and we got a lot to ask you, especially as you really have done some amazing things. Oh, and then, James was at our youth and family summits as you were, Brendan. And so he has a lot on the youth spectrum like you do about how do you get kids into the game? How do you foster them and shepherd them to get whatever level they want to get to? And I thought it was perfect timing to have James on this evening because of what's going on in society with the COVID-19 coronavirus. And we have so many kids that were on the cusp of spring camps and the idea up north spring, and I want to get involved in a golf. Certainly the adults do that, but the kids are really excited to get in there and all the spring breaks. I know James had a jam-packed schedule, but how are you doing up there? You're outside of New York City on Long Island. How are things with you?
Fingers crossed, so far so good. We were actually closed a little while ago. We had actually been closed all winter, except for, let's say, the grill room, banquet hall, that kind of stuff, and I was giving indoor lessons. We were supposed to open March 21st, and we got notice about a week before that we were going to be closed at least until today. So I've already been home. This is actually day 15 of me being self-quarantined, other than just kind of like going outside, walking around, maybe going to the store a couple of times to grab some quick stuff and then get back home. And but yeah, it's kind of surreal out there in that some areas it looks like it's 1978, and other areas I'm sure it looks bleaker. So I guess it's just a matter of where you are. It's kind of cool to be on the highway and not see any traffic, I'll tell you.
That's got to be one little benefit. I know I've seen you post some things on Facebook about what you're doing with Zoom and having all the kids come together.
Yep.
Do some of your coaching. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, what I started doing was, and we talked about this before, we're kind of like in a state where we're throwing things up against the wall and see what sticks. And I didn't want to lose contact with my students, particularly the juniors. And in this case, the kids that had been preparing themselves for the upcoming season. So you had the older kids that were getting ready for their high school season. You had some of the older kids, the more serious ones that were prepping for things, tournaments like Hurricane, AJGA, what have you, Med PGA. And you have the younger kids who are prepping for US Kids Golf and also some other local tournaments. And I'm sure this just kind of hit them really hard. And I wanted to just have them motivated, just keeping in touch with them, keep them working on stuff, because I'm sure they're sitting at home and just going crazy. There's only so many video games you can play and so many things that you can do, TV shows to see. Plus they have, of course, their schoolwork still continuing online. So just wanted to make sure that they don't lose sight of the fact that we're a part of their lives too.
James, I was going to ask, are these things that you've done in the past, or is it because of the situation that you're starting to introduce these online things?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, I tried a couple of times with some people, some individual stuff, just throwing it out there and saying, hey, you know what, why don't you send me some of your swings and I'll give you some feedback on it, and just getting a couple of those online type students. But in terms of having a group together, this was the first time where I would be actually doing like a Zoom meeting. And so that was the new part, is how do I coordinate that? And what actually is the syllabus for what we're going to be doing? And then it's like you think, oh, okay, we're going to do some putting, we're going to do some chipping, we're going to do, and then you realize, oh, wait a minute, everyone's going to be in their living room. Can't just do this and do that. So now you got to start being a little bit creative with what is it you're going to do? Okay, so use a pillow, use a towel, use this, use that. And so one of the things that I learned real fast is I have to prepare them for what we're going to be doing ahead of time. So I would tell them, you're going to need this, you're going to need quarters, you're going to need a couple of coins, you're going to need 3 tees, you're going to need rubber bands, etc., so that it wouldn't be like we would be right in the middle of the Zoom meeting and I would say, okay, we're going to work on this. Now they're running around the house looking for the supplies that they need. And then they come back like, oh, I can't do it because I don't have it. So a lot of preparation beforehand. So yeah, there's a lot of things. Like I said, we're throwing things up against the wall and seeing how they stick. And then as soon as we do one session, it's over. I got to sit down and go like, what ideas do I have? Because sometimes you're in the middle of it like, oh, maybe next time we're going to try this. And you come up with some ideas. So you got to make sure that you're writing that all down while it's still fresh.
Nice. It's interesting that, the youth, the digital natives, so used to technology to staying connected and now using that for golf, but above and beyond. And I was going to ask this to Brendan too, because you're doing a lot of this, I see, using the technology so kids stay friends with kids and they stay socializing. And I've seen some funny memes out there that before the quarantines, kids on the phone. After the quarantine, now people are outside. They're embracing. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that's outside. So just want to get both of your perspectives on that, with kids that used to be tied up so much to this, and then now what you're doing and trying to get them connected emotionally.
Well, not to downplay the magnitude of the situation, but I had a discussion with someone this morning through a Zoom call that this is kind of like a reboot for a lot of people. And I feel like this has always been there. These tools have always been there. But going forward, once things, get back to normal, we're going to have this whole new set of tools in our toolbox that, students and coaches alike are going to be able to use to, enhance what they offer beyond the in-person, time that the students spend with their coaches. And I've done a lot of, I just told James when we were in the green room that I was going through the PGA's coaching program, the ADM model. And it's interesting, but I've done that. I've been doing some other online courses through things like Skillshare. And again, I think if we utilize this time correctly, I think we're going to all be better for it with our businesses.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is when I look outside the window, is I see more people walking around. There's parks and playgrounds in my neighborhood, and I see more people out with their families walking dogs or by themselves. And what's interesting is I'm noticing people are not looking at their phones anymore. It's almost like now going outside and getting some exercise or just a walk in, it's their time to get away from all of the stuff because they're cooped in their house all day. So I thought that was kind of like a little interesting reversal there.
Did you happen to see the one video I saw posted? The guy was, I think he was a left-handed golfer who was chipping toilet paper rolls.
I did. I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, there's pretty. I mean, I know my mother wasn't too happy about the golf balls over the house in my yard in Massachusetts. So, I mean, are you guys seen anything out there? What do you use in the yard? Or, I mean, there's only so much you can do inside the house. I know different geographic areas are different, but you seen anything about literally going in your front yard to do some golf activity?
Yeah, I actually cut a hole in the backyard. I got one. I have one of those tools, and I just went to the backyard and just put it in a cup from the golf course and a mini flag. So I've got something to fix to. I've got a net and one of the mats I took from the teaching area at the golf course. So I've got something to hit into. And for me right now, it's hard to, like, I wanted to do stuff like do live stuff or post some videos of being able to practice outdoors, but the weather here has been very, very rainy. So even the few days that we've had that are already 65 degrees, all of them except for one have been rainy as well. So everything that I've been trying to do is kind of like put on hold until the weather is at least decent outside.
Yeah, and in the same vein, I've been building out my coaching area. I bought a net. Nice net from the net return, and I got a putting green from Birdie Ball, and just getting some tools to set up something on the pool deck to just start recording content and putting stuff out there and doing some Zoom group clinic James was talking about, doing some private lesson stuff, and you got to. I mean, you got to figure stuff out and get creative with things.
Do you think this is a good opportunity? Obviously, there's only so much you can do technically wise inside a house on video with the full swing, but maybe a good opportunity to talk to the kids or anybody about attitude, mental outlook, mindset, and also course management thoughts?
Yeah, I think I was talking to John Dunnigan about this with the course management stuff, is that how do you get the kids to work on that when they're in their backyard or their living room, and being able to transfer that, because the hard thing obviously is not actually being able to go to the golf course and do it. So, well, the ones that have a simulator at their home or some form of a simulator, they have the advantage in that, and that they can just turn that on and do some stuff. But being able to just kind of have the mindset to be able to look into a net and say, well, I'm going to pretend this is the 7th hole at this course, and I'm going to work on this and I'm going to work on that. Or it might just be learning how to shot shape, learning how to control the club face better. Or is it a case of you're sitting there and it's, in a way, it is kind of like being at the driving range and pretending to play a hole while you're on the driving range. And instead, now you're just looking in the net and going, okay, this is a 273-yard par 4, and I'm going to hit my driver. Oh, that felt like I hooked it, so I'm going to hit a little punch shot out from the trees. It's just being more creative with that. So I think what we're probably going to be discovering is that we're spending a lot more time on the mental side of it, keeping the juniors especially more involved and not kind of losing track of that, because they could very easily just they just start hitting balls like a Pez dispenser.
Yeah, James, I wanted to ask you, I'm looking at the bio you sent over here, and you've done quite a few certifications, and the two that I wanted to pull out and get your thoughts on and how much you utilize some of the ones is your TPI. You've done level 1 and level 2, which the level 2 is a lot of the junior fundamentals of the TPI program. And I also wanted to get your take on aim point, because as I said in the green room to you, that's always seemed really interesting to me. How much do you utilize that? Is it something you can apply to adults and juniors alike?
Yeah, definitely. With the aim point stuff, pretty much that is essential part of I'd say all of my putting lessons, if not all of them, almost all of them. And it's usually a case of I'm either watching the player or I'm asking them outright if they can read the green well, how they read the green. So if there's someone that is really struggling with it, then I'll bring up aim point. We'll start talking about aim point and I'll teach it to them. Some people actually come straight out and just say, I want an aim point lesson, or they come to an aim point clinic. With the juniors, what they do is, because they're part of like a monthly program, so I will incorporate the aim point as part of their instruction. And so it might be like, all right, everyone, just remember this Tuesday, the second Tuesday in May, is our aim point practice day. So they'll all come and then we'll work on aim point. So in terms of the juniors, they're all learning it and getting a good handle on it. But yeah, definitely in terms of putting, in particular green reading and understanding that, it's definitely an essential part of what I teach.
What about in terms of TPI?
Oh, TPI, that's right. Yeah, TPI is great. If there was something that I would recommend, definitely TPI. I think the thing that's really good about that is that when you go to the level 1, so it goes across the board. It has medical, fitness, as well as golf instructor, 3 different programs, and it's the foundation for everything else that they all of the other programs that they have. So that's a good education in itself, the screenings and everything. And the thing that you have to be careful of, like everything else, is that it's not the be all end all. It is just your stepping stone for other opportunities that you can pursue on your own, whether with TPI or other programs that you're studying. But I think what it does do is it gives you a good, solid, fundamental foundation for your instruction programs. And with the junior level 2 that I went to, it gave me a lot of ideas in terms of what to do, not just for the advanced juniors, but also for introduction, not just having it be dumping out a basket and going, all right, let's hit them all. It's kind of giving them stuff on how to warm up better, some games to play, some skills challenges. So I would really highly recommend that one.
If somebody out there, a PGA Pro or other, hasn't been able to get to a TPI, what are some of the things that they can or should be looking at in the health and wellness area, fitness? I think
other than TPI, there's a couple of them. I know Nike had a really good one. Nike had Nike 360 with, I think it's Gray Cook, who was the focus of one. That's a pretty good one. There's a couple others that you can go. The people who would actually know that are the fitness people. So what I would do is actually contact someone that you know that's in the fitness profession and ask them, especially if they're very hooked into training golfers, is what's a good program for you to look at. But I think what you also have to be careful of is that remember that your job is that you're the golf teacher. You're not the trainer. That's their field. So if you're looking for something specifically in terms of high-level fitness training, you don't want to undertake that yourself. You want to have someone as part of your team that you can basically tell your student, this is the person that I would refer you to, or vice versa, refer people to for golf instruction.
James, in terms of gamification, that's something that's become a bigger topic, and especially as I'm going through some of this ADM stuff with PGA.coach, understanding how kids develop from younger ages and on through to teenage, golf has to always try to stay fun, regardless of what level a kid's going to be at. If they're highly competitive, obviously, if they're spending a lot of time on the range and a lot of time on the practice, a lot of time on the golf course, they have to enjoy what they're doing. And Bob and I have talked about this a lot in previous podcasts. So what are some recommendations you have for other coaches or for any juniors that might be tuning in to the replay of this, in terms of how you can keep things fun?
Yeah, I think what you want to do, and this is something that I've been espousing of late, is that when we say make it fun, we also want to make it challenging, because it's when we're telling the kids, or we're showing the kids how much fun it could be, part of that fun is the challenge that it's providing us. It's kind of like taking on a crossword puzzle, learning how to solve the puzzle. And so what happens is if we just think about it as only fun, when the game starts to get challenging, when they actually are interested in trying to chip onto the green and one or two putt and not get a 7 from 10 feet away, is that it's challenging. It's how do we improve their skills from that point? And so learn to accept that challenge, and that's part of the fun. So the gamification, as you were saying, I think that what you're looking at for coaches is what exactly is the skill that you're trying to teach your player? What is it you're trying to work on? And what kind of game can you create that basically emphasizes that skill? So one of the things that we do, which is, you were just asking about TPI earlier, is with our camps, our summer camps, for instance. It's the majority of our summer camps are beginners, or maybe they just kind of dabble in golf a little bit. They play with their grandpa or something like that once in a while. So we might be teaching something like speed, putting speed. So that's something that we're spending maybe 10, 15 minutes on. And then we play a game, or we have a challenge game, which focuses specifically on speed, so that whatever it is they were learning, they're now trying to do it in a game-like format. And then what we're doing afterwards is saying, okay, what is it you just learned? Can you summarize it? And sometimes what we do is we actually put them in groups and say, can you teach each other what it is we were just doing? So we're always reinforcing that, not just through instruction, but also through the games, through the skills challenges, so that, and the thing that I know that's really cool about it is the next day when they show up again in the summer camps, they're going like, hey, you know that game, or their parents are saying, yeah, what's that putting game that you played yesterday? My kid was really talking about it on the car ride home. Or they're showing up and going like, hey, can we play that game again? Can we do that thing that we were doing yesterday? So that's when you know that you're doing a good job, is when they come back, they want to keep playing it.
Hey, James, did you get the latest stats? Is it still true? 98.734 putts left short don't go in?
I think that's changed a little bit.
Has that been updated?
It might have been updated, because I don't think that stat took into consideration hurricane force winds.
Ah, my bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Particularly if the wind is with you.
Just wanted to double check that.
Yeah, 10-second rule, and then all of a sudden.
I love that one. I've actually used that in many times I've been out there on the lesson team. People thought I was serious and went, wow, they track those things. And I go, yeah, they track everything. Yeah. I've got one thing I want to throw to both of you guys, and I've talked to top 100 instructors, that, big names out there over the years, and I had an interesting youth in golf. Obviously, my dad's a PGA member, and so I have to discount myself. But what I see a lot, and in my role at PGA America with the youth golf, and at my golf clubs over the years with all the big tournaments and the youth things. So I would say to top instructors, I see a lot of kids trying to swing to play the game instead of play the game. And you sort of get where I'm going with that. And, I would see top youth or golfers in general working on the position by position, like a jigsaw puzzle, kind of working on best positions to hit a golf shot versus play the game. And I think some of the play of the game has been, lost my interpretation, my thoughts from growing up in the game, hitting low shots, high shots. I was showing you guys earlier, this is my R90 Wilson back in the day. We used to put these in a bowl of Coke to get the rust off.
Oh, yeah, right.
Right? So, but it was one sand wedge, and you had to learn every shot. No lob wedges and all that. I don't want to sound like the old guy now, but just want to get your feel on what you see out there in the imagination that's good for kids and really anybody to be able to see a shot and, again, at different caliber level as you get better at the game, hit different shots, play the game, and not get caught up so much in the robotic perfect swing. I don't know what to take that.
James, you want to take that first?
Yeah, you know, what I noticed about the kids these days is that they're afraid to make a mistake for some reason.
Yes.
And I always find it interesting, or if someone says, "Can you teach me how to do this?" and I show it to them, or we talk about it, and then it's like they feel like they should be hitting it perfect on that very first swing. And if they don't set, then they suddenly go shell, or just for some strange reason, there's that fear of failure, the fear of hitting bad shots. And what I keep telling everyone is that that's how you find out how to do it. And it's weird in that golf, for some reason, makes us feel really badly about ourselves. I was talking about this a few months ago to a bunch of the juniors, is that if we were in the gym shooting baskets and we were shooting nothing but air balls, we wouldn't be sitting there going, "Man, I really suck at this."
Right.
And then walk out of the gym, we'd actually be getting mad that we're hitting. Why am I airballing this? We'd go run after the ball. We'd keep shooting. And we would just keep going, and just figure it out. It would never enter our minds that, man, I really suck. But we blade one wedge, and oh man, I'm really bad at golf. There's something about it that just makes us think black and white. We're either good or we're terrible. And it's something that I talk about all the time. And it's like, what are you afraid of? The thing you should be afraid of is me. You get me mad. And the only reason why I'm going to get mad is because you're scared of something that you shouldn't be scared of. The only thing you should be scared of is me. and you're getting mad. And it's weird because sometimes they hit a shot. Let's say they're trying to hit a flop shot, and they hit 6 inches behind the ball, and and I'm sitting there going, "No, that was really good." And they're looking at me like, "I'm like, what do you mean that was good?" I was like, "No, what are we trying to do? We were trying to do this. We're trying to do that. We're trying to." It's like, you did it great. You just were 6 inches behind the ball. If you can get that 6 inches forward, right, you're going to be sitting there going like, "Whoa, look at how good I hit it." And it's like, figure out what 6 inches is.
Yeah.
It's not you're bad. It's just figure out what those 6 inches are. So it's constantly doing that is, like you were saying, the game part of it, it's like they don't want to figure it out, but they would in any other sport.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. It's a topic with all my private lesson students. It's a constant topic. And what I talk about in reference to this is, obviously Bob prefaced this with this question, is there's two different things. There's learning the skills, learning the movements on the range, and then how do you transfer that over to the golf course, but in terms of ultimately putting a scorecard and the least amount of shots. And I think kids aren't as creative as we had to be. I think technology kind of plays a little bit into that. And when I say technology, I'm talking more of the clubs, because the clubs have been manufactured more and more to wreck certain things. So I don't think kids, like you and I did when we were, like all you guys, when we were younger, I remember throwing golf balls down in rough that was knee high with buddies, and we'd played 9 holes around the practice green, and the toughest shots that we could come up with, or we'd step and embed their golf ball in the bunker. And like James said, you just try to figure it out. You just try to get creative. And I think what it boils down to with kids, at least, as I've been doing this for a while, is the expectations that kids have. And this is on a couple different levels. One, where they expect to be in the process. And first, that's if they buy into this idea of it being a process. They always want to go from 0 to 100 in a day or two. and it just doesn't work that way. And then the other thing from next day, their expectations is when they are on the golf course, they may be visualizing and playing that round in their mind on their way to the golf course, but what they're doing from an expectation level in their mind doesn't match up with where they are currently with their skill set. So they're playing the front nine in their head, and they're par birdie, par, oh, we'll throw a bogey in there, and it's just not realistic to where they're at currently. So I do stuff on the golf course, and I'm sure James has done this 1,000 times, where you put them in those situations. I have them hit 2 balls off the tee. They play, I have a brother and sister that do lessons with me. The sister's 17, the brother's 13. And I have them both tee off. They both say the brother hits stripes one down the middle, sister gets to play his tee ball. If the sister hits one, pushes it right into the trees, he has to play it. And I'll just kind of determine as we go off each hole who has to play which next shot. So they're not focusing on the score they're writing on the scorecard. They're focusing on that idea of one shot at a time.
Yeah, that's a good point, Brendan. I think the more games you can play it on the golf course, that's a good thing. When I was a kid, my dad had me play a bunch of different things. I played 2 balls. I always had to take the worst shot. Every time, no matter what. So you might hit it 6 inches and the other one's in the bunker, 2 shots out of the bunker. And if you can shoot par doing that, that's pretty good. He used to have me play from the ladies' tee with all my clubs. And yeah, you're going to make birdies, but you get comfortable being under par. Then I had to play from the ladies' tee or the sort of the forward men's tee with no woods at all irons. So it was always something that, you don't want to get into the same old thing, and you start to get into some bad habits, or you just don't focus. So I don't know if you guys use a lot of those games like that on the course with kids.
Oh yeah.
I'm scared of you again.
Yeah, I would set things up on where every hole had a specific task. So for instance, they'd go off the first hole, and I would say that's your warm up. You could do whatever you want on the first hole. Then the second hole, I would say that every shot has to be a knockdown shot. You can't hit a ball, can't be up in the air. If the ball goes up in the air, it's a 2-shot penalty. Everything's got to be low. The third hole at our course is a par 3. So I would turn to everyone's like, what club are you going to use? Well, I'm going to use a 7. And then what I would tell them is the rule is whatever club you're going to choose, you got to take 3 clubs longer. You said 7, you're playing with a 4.
Love it. Yeah.
Stuff like that. And then I would flip flop it. So another par 3, I would go around and say, what club are you going to hit? And they think that they've got it. Like, oh, I'm going to hit it. I'm going to hit a 5. And I say, all right, well, now you're going to hit 3 clubs shorter. So now they're hitting an 8. So just trying to do stuff like that. Or I might say the shortest club you can use on this hole is a 6-iron. So here they are chipping or hitting a bunker shot or something like that, and they've got to use their 6-iron. And there's a speed golf hole. I say you got to finish this hole in 5 minutes. But we double it in that not only do you have to finish the hole in 5 minutes, but that also means that you got to choose which 4 clubs you're going to run with. And so they're like, oh, I'm going to take this. So they grab their 4 and then they go and they play the hole. And it's funny in that when they do that, they actually do really well. That seems to be the hole where everyone goes, wow. It's like you were saying, Brendan, is that some of them, they don't pay attention to the score because they're so busy about trying to finish the hole in under 5 minutes. And then they're like, and they're walking to the next tee and they're going like, they look back and they're like, oh, wait, I parred that hole. Or, wow, I only got a on that hole. I thought I did way worse or something like that. And it's so, yeah, just taking their mind off the score. But yeah, we do that on every hole. I've even done the Scott Foster decade thing where I've taken all the flags out of the holes. So they don't know where the holes are. That's been fun because they start to realize, yeah, you know what? When I don't pay attention where the flag is, sometimes I'm on the green. Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we do a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, and sometimes sometimes I tell students, kids or adults, that if you're on a long par 5, for example, and you've got 300 plus in on your second shot, and you just kind of pull out a long iron or a mid iron, and you're not playing for a target per se, like hitting it on the green. You've got this wide fairway, you're just trying to position yourself. And a lot of times when you're doing that, you're not really as focused on a specific thing. So you're free swinging. And it's the same type of idea is you're lowering the expectations, you're free swinging. And a lot of times you hit probably the best shot you've hit for the day in those situations. So it's the same thing as lowering those expectations.
Do you ever have the kids that are right-handed try to swing lefty and lefty swing righty just to get them to feel? I play golf lefty. I'm a right-handed, but when I would play more, I could I'm about a bogey golfer lefty, but I always wanted to do that so I never lost the feeling of how hard the game or, how challenging it is. But I see some kids, they like to, all these things we're talking about, I think it keeps it fresh. It keeps their mind thinking. It's a way to learn, the play to learn.
Yeah,
I don't do it because I can't hit the ball left-handed. So if I'm going to ask a kid to do it and they turn around and ask me to do it, I'm not even going to step into that.
Yeah, I can't do it at the beginning of the season. I need a couple of weeks to hit some balls left-handed, then I'll be fine. It's funny because when I see my swing left-handed, I actually technically like it better than my right-handed swing, my normal swing. So it gets me mad. It's like, why can't I do that with my swing? Why can't I swing like that? And it's funny. I actually videotaped myself a few years ago left-handed, flipped the video over so it looked right, and sent it to mine. Mm-hmm. And he looked at it and he goes, wow, you've been working on your swing. That's awesome. And I was like, you just made me feel even worse.
I love it. Hey, so what do you gentlemen think, as we get through the virus and it becomes day one of some normalcy in society, how does golf look then as far as you think the golf courses get jam-packed, or is there a quick hockey stick kind of thing? Is it a gradual, or, looking ahead to hopefully day one, that sooner than later that we can, get through with this craziness?
I think the public courses will definitely fill up. People are they're just going to go crazy. They can't wait to get out. The private courses also will, because the members, and some of them that have stayed open for their members, and some of them, they'll get their membership coming back out and being happy to see everyone again. But I think what's going to be interesting is where are the economics of it? How is everyone doing economically?
Yep.
So if you're at a golf course, a public course, for instance, that charges $110 for greens fees, still going to be charged $110. What do you expect your tee sheet to look like with those green fees? Is there going to be a change? There might not be a change. Or are you going to suddenly have to realize, if we want our tee sheet to be filled, we may have to make some adjustments to what we're charging the golfer. With the private courses, it's a membership deal, so it's not going to be as noticeable. There might be some things that you're going to be working on with the members, but for the most part, no. I mean, I know it's going to be interesting what the instruction landscape is going to be like, because as we talked about, we're going to be doing a lot of things digitally, and then once we're kind of starting to go back to being able to be face-to-face with people, it's how are we going to incorporate that digital landscape that we've created for ourselves? That's going to be an integral part of our instruction business moving on. So some of these people are going to be like, well, why should I get 10 lessons with this guy at this rate when we were doing pretty good with video lesson analysis and stuff like that, especially your students where their swings. So maybe they just need like a quick tip or something. They send you their swing and like, yeah, okay, that's good. So there are going to be some changes to the structure of, I think, people's lesson plans going forward.
Good point. Brendan?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a different landscape once this all kind of clears and goes away. Kind of to the point of the economics of it, what I'm a little bit afraid of is where, the individual consumer stands from an economic standpoint. If it was a small business owner, where are they going to be? Are they going to have the discretionary spending to be able to go out on the golf course? Or are they going to be able to take lessons if that's something that they did before? So, the longer this plays out, and now we're looking through April, and James, you being up near the epicenter for the United States, it could be a little bit longer for there. So I'm concerned, but at the same time, I'm optimistic about maybe this whole thing for those that get through it, businesses that get through it, golf courses that don't have to unfortunately shut down. Maybe this is a kick in the butt to have people open up their eyes on things like this can happen and situations like this can happen. So how can I better run my business? What are some different ways? And I think a lot of people have got creative throughout this. A lot of golf courses keeping their restaurants open, but only for curbside or delivery, things they may have never thought of previously. So, but I'm going to throw this back to you, Bob, because I want to kind of see, because this is kind of your domain recently with everything you're doing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the business of golf, the golf operations, how clubs are being run, it's opening up some eyes. I'm seeing some comments out there. James, you put one out recently about how did the dynamics, how would they look we could get out of this, because we're going to go through something with changes in technology. Now, Is it possible, is it going to be the norm going forward? You don't go in the golf shop to check in. I mean, that's been historically in golf forever, really. So there are some courses that are a little more advanced out there where maybe the tablets are out front, but now trying to be social distancing and safe. What if going forward, more clubs adopt that? How does that impact merchandise or visits in the shop? Just, it's interesting how there's trends out there. I'm reading things. I read one this morning on these mega trends and how things have been in the work for a few years, but what's happening with the virus, this will accelerate things. And that's something I think the golf industry is going to see some trends. I think, unfortunately, more courses may fold. They may go under because of what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, I think the power of golf, the unbelievable power of the relationships that you build, and people crave that at this time. The three of us are watching each other on video, and we feel like we're together, I guess, not to speak for you two, but still, if we could tomorrow morning tee it up on the golf course, that's what we want. We want the power of being with each other and families together. And I'm down here in Florida. Brendan's up near Orlando. I'm on the East Coast, Treasure Coast of Florida. And, thank goodness we're in a bit of a bubble. It's not too bad in context of what's going on. Many courses up this way are still open. The course that I'm associated with is at 230 rounds Friday, 240 Saturday, about 230 yesterday. And I'm out there talking to people, and they're driving from some miles away, some of them, because they crave the outside. They crave what golf brings to them. They crave the relationships, friends, family together. So hopefully, after 9/11 in our lifetime, that was something that was a reality check. I think this is another one in that regard.
Yeah, I could see some things being different in the future. Stuff. I mean, I see it already. I was thinking about this the other day, where you're in the grocery store and now you have self-checkout lines. So you're just going up and ringing yourself out. And I could see golf courses now, like you said, having the tablet out front, and now you're checking yourself in, whatever group you have. Your credit card's already on file, so all you're doing is just, yep, I'm here with my threesome. Your card's already getting charged. You get your ticket. You walk right over. Maybe there's a person right there at the first tee or where the carts are. You show them that, and they just tell you which cart you're going to, and then you can go right out. So you might be eliminating some of the resources that you have there, but what you're hoping for is that those resources are allocated somewhere else, especially because we're in a service industry. So maybe it's not in the pro shop so much anymore, but it's having more people in the grill room or in the cart with the cart services and everything. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what's happening, to look forward a year from now and see what are some of the changes in the landscape.
You know,
yeah, I agree. I agree 100% with what you said, James. I think that's from an operational standpoint, that's where the big changes are going to be. And that those first touches, as soon as they jump out of their car, more emphasis on if it's the type of club that the bags from the car or at a bag drop or whatever, you enhance those first touches and you skip over that pro shop experience, which is, in all honesty, lacks at a lot of golf courses. So maybe that's a good thing from an operational standpoint. But it's definitely, this is going to change how every business does things going forward. And it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out over time.
Right.
I had this conversation with another person in the golf industry this week, and I said, it's interesting when you think of the golf ecosystem, you think of the golf technology advances, a lot of them in equipment. Three of us remember using persimmon woods. Hey, kids out there, that's a wood. We've seen advances in the putter, the irons, the bag, clothing. You name it. We've seen advances on agronomy with our brothers and sisters superintendents, and amazing technology and technological advances on the agronomy turfgrass side. But interestingly enough, just the golf operations, but that's probably an area that going through this, there might be a forced eye-opening things. Heck, I remember when Ashworth came out and members at the club I was at said, well, that'll never sell. You got to have a hard collar. So I don't know. Golf is a little bit slow to change. Sometimes great traditions, we got the etiquette, we have a lot of good things, but it's as an industry slow to embrace some change at times.
Yeah, so as we wrap up, James, one of the things we do with guests is we come to the end of a podcast is let you kind of promote whatever it is that you're doing, website and stuff. I did, before you jump into that, I wanted to go through some of your accolades. So Best in State by Golf Digest in New York State, that was 2017-18 and 19-20. Golf Range Association Master Growth of the Game Teaching Professional in 2019, and you've been a top 50 with them for from 14 to 18. U.S. Kids Top 50 Master Teacher in 2012. I'm looking at this, and this is kind of the same years that some of those accolades I had. So we've been in the same class for a while as we've moved through some of these record, getting recognized for what we do.
It's it's funny. I remember years ago, it might have been the U.S. Kids Golf one. I'm not sure. It's your name went up there, and I remember going like, "Oh, that's Brendan," because I was like, oh, I want to know who you were.
Hey, James,
it's the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, James. But by the way, you also have to sing a song on these at the end of the podcast. So,
yes, that's true.
Yeah, it's a part of the deal.
I saw the drum set.
Yep,
drum solo on.
Yeah.
So James, go ahead, promote website, your golf club website where you teach. Floor is yours.
Well, where I teach is Harbor Links Golf Course in Port Washington, New York. It's in Long Island. It's dead center between Manhattan and Bethpage Black. So we're right in the middle of that. So we're about 20-30 minutes out from Manhattan, Long Island Railroad. So we're right there. We're a public golf course, so come on out. We do get quite crowded, quite busy. So it's definitely one of the best public golf courses on Long Island. We have a huge junior program, and hopefully that will be back on track soon. We have spring programs, summer programs, huge summer camps, fall programs. So we're pretty packed there. Good instruction staff there. And we have a really nice grill room there, good food there, everything. So we've got a nice place. And yep, we're always available for golf instruction, for lessons. We love teaching juniors. So, give us a call when we're back out there.
And if you ever need help with Legos, you're the man to call.
Yeah, I got a love for Star Wars, for Lego Star Wars. And all right, here we go.
There we go.
There it is.
That big
I love
boy.
it.
And yes, there's more in the background over there.
I always, we go to the Lego store when we're at Disney Springs, and I only thought I saw something to that perfection at a Lego store.
Yeah.
So bravo to you. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
all right.
but,
so any last thought, Bobby, before we sign off?
No, just everybody stay safe, stay healthy. If you can get to a golf course near you and they're following all the strict protocols, get out, relax, enjoy, and try to de-stress. And thank you, Honger, for joining us. Always great to have you, my friend.
No, thank you for asking me. This was a pleasure and an honor.
So, folks, you can check out Love of the Links on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We'll have the posting of this. Once I edit out the bullcrap we had to do at the beginning, we'll get this out, and we'll get the audio, which I'm recording right now on my phone. We'll get that out onto all the places you listen to podcasts. Thanks to James Hong for spending some time with us. And Bobby, we'll see you soon, my friend.
You got it. Looking forward to it.
Take care, everybody.